Hey, let's get clocked in with another continuation of the Taro Yokoverse NieR universe that we are working on together. And guess what? We're finally on a different game. Yes, I know, we've had 20 videos, at least, on Drakengard 3. And I said I may or may not touch on this, but I figured I would do somewhat of a synopsis of Drakengard 1 before we move on to NieR Gestalt, NieR Replicant. I'm not going to explain those right now. The reason I didn't really want to cover Drakengard 1 is not because it's not a great story, not because it's not. I just don't have access to playing the game, and at the current moment, I don't have plans to find a way to download and play the game. If it is absolutely detrimental and you must see me play it, I can attempt to figure that out, but I don't have that on my radar right now. So I will be borrowing some clips and gameplay videos from some other creators. I will credit them down below because they're not my own videos, so I don't have access to them. So that's why I kind of didn't want to cover it, because I don't like not having my own content to show you guys. So this is the best I can do, and what we're going to do is just a quick, I'm going to try to keep it quick, a summary of what is Drakengard 1, what is the main story, and how does it lead into NieR, and then we're going to move right on to NieR. If you want more information on it, I will tag some creators down below who I think have done a fantastic history and retrospective of Drakengard 1, but like I said, I don't plan to do a full thing. So we're just simply going to do some quick explanations. Drakengard is technically the second installment in the NieR universe. It is the first game that Taro made in this universe, but it is second in canon. Following Drakengard 3, all those videos are on this playlist. It was originally released as Dragon Dragoon in Japan, but that wasn't as catchy of a title, so they went with Drakengard. It's an action role-playing game released by Cavia for the PlayStation 2. In 1999, during a night out at the bar, NX producer Takamasa Shiba and Ace Combat Electrosphere director Takeaki Iwasaki brainstormed an aerial combat game with dragons, and with NX's support, the game came into production. Iwasaki quit Namco after completing Electrosphere and founded Cavia with Shiba, and the development team assigned to Drakengard was named Project Dragonsphere. Before Drakengard, Iwasaki and Shiba had no experience with creative writing, and Taro Yoko joined the project as the art director, but his art did not impress the team. Since he was too busy with other projects, Taro was assigned to direct the game and write its script along Sawaka Natori. Taro worried that the dark tone of Drakengard's story would hamper the game's release. He consulted with NX producer, who flew to Los Angeles to pitch this game to Sony at the E3 event. Sony staff on site had gone through many pitches of that, and in exhaustion, they approved Drakengard without even reviewing it. So, they didn't really know the dark tones, and they didn't fully review it, and they just let it go through. Midway through the development, the success of Dynasty 2 Warriors inspired Shiba to push for inclusion of ground battles. So as a result, the game had to be redesigned to balance ground levels and aerial combat. This was a new thing for the games to be reaching at, and while Ace Combat and all that were coming out, they decided to, have those aerial combats, but that's when they added in those ground combat mechanics. And a lot of those were not praised very highly, as the universe was very sparse, there wasn't a lot of detail, it was a very straightforward run and gun. It still get praised in the fact that it included two different types of combat mechanics. When they did the redesign, it caused a lot of setbacks in development, and the team had trouble running transitions between melee and the flying mode, so it was kind of jumpy. There's a lot of screen tearing, lagging, game breaking. It wasn't very well made, and that's why another reason I don't feel like playing it. You can see from the clips that I'm going to be borrowing. It's a great story, and it does well for its time, but it wasn't also well made, and it's not going to be updated anytime soon that I know of, and that's just the way that is. As NX went through its merger with Square Enix, the team's advisory board was repeatedly asked to change the game's content, but they refused on most requests. Taro Yoko had planned the game to actually be released on 2 DVD discs, but that was also refused, and the constraints forced the team to reduce the size to 1, and it made a lot of features become bugged, including the jump mechanic, where you couldn't actually jump in Drakengard. They never had time to debug it upon release, and it just was taken off, and so it was bad. Taro originally wanted the game to stand out against Square Enix's flagship franchise, which was Final Fantasy and Dragon Quest. To achieve that, the world of the game was made dark and desolate, and the cast was written morally gray, taboo themes including incest, cannibalism, pedophilia. Taro created backgrounds and intense themes and was hoping that the audience would be receptive, but he also worried that it would not be. The world of Drakengard is heavily influenced by European folklore. The map is actually like an inverse version of Europe at the time. There's some sort of comparison of where the actual Drakengard map is the map of Europe, but just kind of like reversed, mirrored. And the game is also inspired by Neon Genesis Evangelion. The latter particular shares a core trait with Drakengard. Its formaic premise is a hook for a darker cosmic story. Because Taro was told the game would not have a sequel, Drakengard is famous for its 5 endings. We know this as A, B, C, D, and E. We know this. All of which are always tragic. Thank you, Taro. Taro did not intend to be them truly depressing, but rather to present a painful and bizarre experience for the playable cast. Drakengard features a story mode and a free expedition mode that allows replays of completed levels. The gameplay is divided among 3 types of levels. Ground levels. Kame and his allies run along foot attacking enemies with up to 8 equipped weapons, each with their own unique magic spell. In wider open spaces, Kame can ride on Angelus's back, his dragon, to travel faster and attack with dragon fire. The story mode also features shorter narrative-centric strafe levels, where Kame must run to the objective without the need to defeat specific enemies. Aerial levels, the player flies on the back of the dragon to shoot at the enemies in mid-air, fireballs locked on, energy blast both Kame and Angelus, gained experience as they level up to defeat enemies. A lot of this is very similar to Drakengard 3, however just a much more simplistic and buggier version of it. So if you watch those gameplay videos of Drakengard 3, you can understand what I mean by the straightforward aspect of the gameplay. Just think of it and make it even simpler and make it even more screen tearing and more buggy. The story mode is divided into chapters, each subdivided into several levels, cutscenes called verses. We've seen this in Drakengard 3, and it's very easy to, navigate that way with the chapters, the verses. So who are the main characters? The main character of the game of Drakengard is Kame, the prince of a kingdom besieged by the Empire. Kame has a grudge against dragons in general, as his parents were killed by an imperial black dragon. He is mortally wounded at the beginning of the game, and despite his hatred of dragons, he makes a pact with the red dragon, Angelus, to save his life at the cost of losing his voice. Kame's pact mark is located on his tongue. Angelus, his dragon, also known as Angel, a 10,000-year-old red dragon. Angelus is an arrogant and aloof, and she hates humans and insults them at every chance, while playing up her race as far superior to humans. After being mortally wounded by an imperial armada at the beginning of the game, she reluctantly accepts Kame's pact to save herself. There are many other main characters and many other playable characters, but I'm not going to go into depth with talking about every single one of them, because I'm not going into depth about this game. I'm just leading you into the story and getting you to NieR. So this story summary I am taking from Accord's library. You know Accord. We love her, don't we? Or we're confused by her at least. She's mentioned in Drakengard 3. There is a beautiful site online, and I will put it in the description below, called Accord's library. It features information from every bit of Drakengard you can get, and I'm just going to take the story synopsis from that, put it into this video. You can read it for yourself. All credit goes to Accord, but I'm just going to read it for you. So Drakengard story summary. The Empire is attacking the castle, protecting the 13th goddesses of the seal, Furay. Outside, an army of red-eyed soldiers is massed at the gate. Fighting against the Union, there are middle in this living hell, we meet Kame, Furay's brother. He is slashing soldiers with terrifying ease, killing dozens of them. However, despite his insatiable hatred, his time has come sooner than he wished for. He is struck by a nearby soldier. Gravely wounded, he walks towards the castle gate and rejoining with his sister. Inside the castle's wall, he meets with a nailed-down dragon. Ever since his parents' tragic death, Kame has a deep hatred for dragons. However, they are both in bad shape and they both want to live, so they forge a pact. The pact, they both get healed, and the red dragon is unchained. Kame's voice was the price for this pact, but he can at least communicate telepathically with his new ally, and they take off towards some nearby enemy dirigibles. A pact. What is a pact? A pact is a contract between a human and a beast in which they become pact partners. The human gains supernatural powers, but they must pay some sort of price, and is usually the most treasured feature. If one should be fatally injured, it means death for both. A pact can also be broken, however, but the details are vague and unclear. The pact system doesn't become become a widespread concept in the branches where Zero and Mikhail never forge a pact despite One and Gabriella forging one in the years before. So you remember from Drakengard 3, ending E is what leads into this game. And ending E, Mikhail and Zero do in fact form a pact. That is how Brother 1 ends up eliminating the final intoner and Mikhail at the same time. After having destroyed every Empire's airship, the dragon dives and burns the enemy's infantry. With the beast on their side, the Union has now a clear advantage. Even the red-eyed soldiers are no match against God's messenger. Back on foot, Cain processes into the castle, searching for Furet. He meets her alongside Inuart, who is suggesting taking refuge in the Elven village, a neutral place. Cain and his party arrive at the elf village, but the Empire has been there first, and about is the aftermath of the unlawful invasion. Inuart despairs as he lays his eyes upon the wasted ruins. Cain heard dragon hear a voice, and the voice is the hierarchy Verodelt, the spiritual leader of the Union and the guardian of the four seals. The seal of the temple, the seal of the desert, the seal of the forest, and the seal of the goddesses. We've heard all of these before in Drakengard 3. The seal system came into place after Drakengard 3, with one forming the Cult of the Watchers. The Cult of the Watchers have a very cryptic story and message, and a message was written in blood in the elven village that they found. Speak not the Watchers, draw not the Watchers, write not the Watchers, sculpt not the Watchers, sing not the Watchers, call not the Watcher's name. Cain shrugs off this ominous warning and continues checking the village. As far as his end, he comes across a dying elf who tells him the villagers were taken to the shrine of the Cult of the Watchers. Cain begins to suspect that some evil bond connects the cult and the Empire and decides to fly to the shrine. But Cain only finds the ruins and the Empire's army there. In the shrine's nave, he finds a villager begging to save him from the people in his village. He kicks the man's face with his foot and heads for the Valley of the Fairies where the village is located. Only spilling of Imperial blood can state his lust for revenge. Cain goes to the village, and not to save lives, but to take them. With rage in his heart, he flies through the dark fog that shrouds the valley. There in the forest, a man named Leonard is watching the house and he and his brothers once lived in. Burned to the ground by the Empire's soldiers, he tries to kill himself using a dagger, but he can't do that. Then a malicious fairy comes by and exploits Leonard's despair and forges a pact with him. And Leonard has his very own novella, and you can also read that. Almost every one of the characters in this game has his very own separate novella. I'm not going into all of those. Cain senses a nearby pact partner and decides to head in that direction. He meets with Leonard and now has blind, the price he has paid for his unwanted contract. After exchanging a few words and praying for the soldiers killed by Cain, he chooses to join them. Maybe dying for a greater cause could absolve his sins. Cain suddenly loses contact with Verodelt, whom he had trusted Furet and Inuart. Concerned for their safety, the small group immediately flies to the desert. In the middle of the night, Cain meets with Furet alone. According to her, Inuart and Verodelt have been captured by the Empire and taken to a dungeon. After a goodbye hug, Cain and Leonard fly off, leaving Furet alone once again. During the flight, the Red Dragon takes an opportunity to ask Cain about his sister. Is he aware of Furet's feelings toward him? Did he ever sense the passionate love buried inside her? Furet knew that anyone who lives as a goddess must part from whatever mortal bonds she has in her life, avoiding contaminating the seal. She didn't want to accept her duty since it meant abandoning her brother, yet she eventually gave in to her new fate. Since then, Furet desperately tried to kill her emotions and forget her love for Cain. However, he is still oblivious to her feelings even after what the red-eyed dragon told him. On the other side, those feelings were not lost on Inuart, who harbored deep jealousy towards Cain for drawing his lover's attention away from him. Kept prisoner at the Imperial dungeon, he is tormented and brainwashed by Mana, the high priestess of the cult. His insecurities and obsessive love for Furet are being used against him, and soon he swears an allegiance to the Empire. Cain and Leonard fly and arrive at the Imperial dungeon, where the dragon believes they're held. They finally, in a widespread circle around the perimeter, burning any soldier in sight. No longer guarded, the prisoners, including Verodelt, escape. The latter meets with Cain at the entrance, and he explains that Inuart has been taken somewhere else. Even more worrying is the Empire's ultimate goal to destroy all the seals, summoning the Seed of Resurrection. Verodelt asks Cain to prevent this outcome by defending the Seal of the Desert, where the Empire is already nearing its goal. Despite flying towards the desert in no time, they are too late and the seal has been broken. They meet with Furet and choose camp for the night. Suddenly, Verodelt and the dragon sense the voice of the pact partner, an alarming voice full of madness. They decide to check it out, and the voice comes from the burning ruins of an Imperial dungeon. There in the middle of the chaos, they meet with a beautiful elf who approaches them. Behind her, two floating spirits are following, the woman, Undyne, a water spirit, and a salamander, a fire spirit. She calls herself Ariok, and she is looking for some sweet children, she says. And she moves awkwardly, and her gaze is disturbing. All of a sudden, she snaps into Kaim's neck, seemingly trying to eat him alive. Verdelt apprehends her by using some lock spell, and he would like to join the group for her own good, as well as for the others. Ariok gets up and follows them. When the Empire has left Niflheim, Ariok's village, she was an ordinary housewife. This day, her beloved husband and son were slaughtered by the Imperial army, and the shock of which completely shattered her heart. Madness dwells in her eyes so that the others dare not speak with her. Still, the way she bursts into sudden laughter in the middle of her screams, or if she was remembering something, is an act so strange as to stand out from even the most eccentric of normal people. Having been overcome by insanity, Ariok murdered and devoured young children. Her crazed mind thought to be doing so she could protect them within her womb, but after these bloody incidences she had come up many times, Ariok was captured by the Imperial army and taken into custody. She has another novella, and you can go more into her cannibalistic story if you're interested. On the road towards the next seal, Kaim and his friends are sitting around a campfire. They feel uneasy and something menacing is approaching. A dragon flies over their heads, casting an ominous shadow in their camp. It's NieR. He lands near Furet, and his eyes are blood red, and he looks incredibly confident and powerful. Nothing like the person Kaim used to know. NieR may have acquired the power he longed for. However, in the process, he became nothing of a minion of the Empire. Even his talent as a singer and musician has been taken from him. The price for the pact with his black dragon. But none of this is the matter for NieR. He finally has the strength to protect Furet and bring her back to the Empire, whether she likes it or not. He will do it. Of course, Kaim is having none of it, and the prince jumps in his direction. Their blades clash against each other, while the red and black dragon are fighting in the sky. NieR pushes his rival to the ground. As he gets up, he gets a better glimpse of the black dragon. Something is off, and he recognizes that dragon. His eyes open wide. That's it. It's the one who killed his parents. All this hatred he's gathered over the last 6 years, and he is ready to unleash all of it. Without paying any attention, Kaim rushes towards his arch-nemesis. However, he is unable to reach his target. The black creature rises into the air and fires at him and the red dragon, and they are both heavily wounded. Unable to move, they are forced to watch NieR fly away with Furet in his arms, with the seal of the goddesses in their hands. The Empire is one step closer to plunge the world into darkness and chaos, and after a few days, Kaim is ready again, and he will not let his sister die for their evil plans. While traveling towards the Empire territory, they meet with Seer, the young boy, who begs Kaim to venture into the valley with her sister. He agrees, but of course no trace of mana can be found. Instead, they bump into the Empire army. Orcs, goblins, trolls, and ogres. The Empire uses many subhumans and mercenary classes, all of which Kaim loves, to slaughter. While everything became silent again, a scream is heard, and this is the fairy's death cry, meaning that the seal of the forest has fallen to the relentless Empire. However, Verdelt senses an even worse outcome. According to him, all terrestrial seals have been destroyed, and the Sea of the Sea has been attacked without them realizing it. This means that only one seal remains, Furet, who must endure the pain on her own. Hearing that, Kaim immediately takes off, followed by the Red Dragon, Leonard and Verdelt, and now Seer. Furet could die at any moment, and they rejoin with the Union army. They have amassed all available forces at the gates of the Empire as the last resort against the apocalypse. Both armies are posted on each side of a vast hilly plain, and the attack begins. However, halfway through the Imperial lines, the Union soldiers come to a stop. Terrified by what they are witnessing, the Empire's evil factories have built immense one-eyed war monsters. 3 of them are rising on the horizon, and before them, the Union takes only turns and flees. Kaim and the dragon take on the air to destroy the Cyclops and turn to defeat in a glorious victory. Fighting them reveals to be harder than expected, and their only weakness is their giant eye. However, this is also where they blast giant energy beams. One after the other, the Cyclopses fall under the dragon's fire. The Union army can finally prepare for itself for its second assault. And naturally, Kaim joins them on foot. Killing Imperials is his favorite sport after all. After hours of battle, Kaim kills the last enemy, and the valley is completely drenched in blood. The uniformly red scenery is only alleviated by the metallic gray of the Imperials' helmets. The Union has won, and gathered around Kaim, the soldiers are celebrating their victory as their war hero, who brandishes his sword towards the sky in response. At the same moment, the sky turns red and a massive fireball falls from a floating fortress, smashing into the battlefield. The Union's victory and its army are lost in a succession of incredibly powerful explosions, and the valley is turned into a hellish wasteland. The ground starts to shake, and thousands of corpses are digging through the dirt and rise again as undead warriors, as Kaim kills some of them before he flies away on the red dragon. Is the goddess of the seal dead? Is this why the world has fallen into chaos and despair? According to Leonard, she is still alive, and he is sensing her southward inside the ocean fortress. There, Kaim finds nothing, but he realizes that Leonard's hunch wasn't unfounded. In its depths, he finds a magical space bridge leading him inside the floating fortress he's seen earlier. That must be it. Surely Furia must be somewhere inside the Empire's headquarters. Through this maze of stone and corridors, they find their way and finally meet with Mana. Seer barely recognizes his own sister, and she speaks nonsense and acts in a very uncanny manner. She sings and laughs and dances without a care in the world. Her mind, humanity, is gone. Even with her brother on his knees begging her to notice him, she doesn't. Love is what she always wanted, and this is exactly what the Watchers gave her. She has a place to be now. She is loved and looked after. She is accepted. Realizing that there is nothing left of her sister inside the body, Seer asks Golem to end her life. With one hand, the giants squash her like an insect, leaving nothing but a pool of blood and organs. Soon after, the fortress starts to rumble, and Mana, the High Priestess and the agent of the Watchers, was the one keeping the fortress floating. Without her, this place is lost. Kame and his group barely escape and watches the fortress crash into the ground. Still inside, Wizennoir clutches Furia in his arms, and together they vanish into a blaze of blinding light. With the instrument of the Watchers gone, it seems that the menace is past. However, the last seal has fallen, meaning the world's destruction has only just begun. The reason and logic the world collapsed from the red sky, grotesque beasts begin to fall, and the banquet of destruction begins. In the maddening sky flies our group, ready to battle the Watchers. They have taken multiple forms throughout history. This time they appeared in the world as giant flying babies on electrical wings. In a scene of such horror, each one acts independently. Kame kills anything in sight. Ariok is thrilled by the giant babies and feeds on one to kill our protagonist. Veradelt is hiding behind some ruins, horrified and in shock as to what the world has become. He is a man who has devoted his entire life to religion and the divine teachings. How could he pray? To whom? What can the gods help him do now? I am already dead. Where this body drops and rots is no matter now. No matter how many grotesques Kame kills, there are more coming, indefinitely. They begin to gather around them, and soon, all attempt to escape seems useless. Ariok is separated from the group, and she looks up at the babies as if they were particular tendencies, and they've come after her and devour her. In the sky, an even greater threat has appeared. The Queen Beast. According to the prophecy, the Watcher's mother is capable of warping time itself. Surrounded from all direction, Kame, Seer, and Leonard face death. The latter has decided to redeem himself. His cowardice has stopped here, and for the first time and last time, he must take action and protect his partners. Using his pack's partner magic, he self-destructs in a blinding explosion of light. He has opened a passage for them, hoping they could stop the Queen Beast, as she is devouring time and eroding reality. Her stomach has swelled considerably, and having dropped Seer and Kame, the dragon dived down from the sky into the heart of the beast. They are engulfed in a blaze of pure white light, and together, man, dragon, and monster fall tumbling into a chasm that splits space and time. Shinjuku, Tokyo, June 12, 2003. The weather is cloudy. The birds are singing. The city is humming. Suddenly the sky turned bright. Something is piercing through the clouds. It's the Queen Beast who crashes into the business district. Kame and the Red Dragon follow and appear through multidimensional portal. The flight will continue in Japan's capital. Unable to blast fire, the dragon is forced to fight the beast using nothing but magic. Defeated by the protagonist and his partner, the Queen Beast falls to the ground and breaks into countless white flakes. It is done! At last, whispers the Red Dragon. Before they could even cherish their victory, a fighter jet of Japan's Air Self-Defense Force, 6th Air Wing, 303rd Squadron shoots down the dragon with a missile strike, and they fall and are impaled atop Tokyo Tower.
This is Bravo 1. Unidentified target has been neutralized. Over and out.
That was a lot of information really quickly, but what are the Cult of the Watchers? They're also the Church of the Angels. They were formed by 1 after ending E of Drakengard 3. After the death of the Intoners, they are the symbol of the three-eyed twins, meaning one and his sister merged together, 3 eyes, twins. The cult represents the responsible creation of the seals and the goddess system, which you see gets destroyed by the Empire. One was exiled, and later his children and his descendants are actually the ones that lead the cult against the high priestess and priestesses. I mentioned the red-eye disease, and what are the red-eye disease? A lot of the followers of the cult are infected by the red-eye disease, and they become mindless drones robbed of any free will and sanity. One is revealed to be the source of the virus and is used by Nero to spread the infections. The red-eye disease is a condition that affects various characters in the Drakengard universe, including our main guy, Kame. It is characterized as scarlet red eyes, and they become violent and berserk. and they can present themselves as mark of possession the watchers as seen in NieR. Alright, let's go through these last things real quick. Reminder, the Drakengard's and NieR's universe loves those 5 endings, so what are the 5 endings here? Ending A. The anguish of the unsmiling watcher. Came and the dragon confront Mana in the Sky Fortress. Verdelt attempts to seal her powers, but the spell backfires, and turning Mana into a giant. Defeated by the dragon, Mana begs Came and Verdelt to kill her, but they coldly turn away, and the dragon says she must suffer for her atrocities. With the 4 seals destroyed and Mana rendered powerless, the dragon offers to become the new seal. Verdelt reluctantly accepts. While he performs the sealing, the dragon uses her last breath to tell Came her true name. Jealous. B. Flowers for the broken spirit. Inuart takes Furie's dead body to the Seed of Destruction, which resurrects her as an angelic monster. She immediately kills Inuart and engages Came in an aerial battle, but is defeated. Later, Came holds Furie's dead body, and the other Seeds of Destruction spawn several copies of the monstrous Fae. A woman turned into a stake will hold the world in a basin of fire. C. A companion's eternal farewell. Mana desperately tries to summon a dragon, which immediately rebels and eats her alive. Now transformed into a chaos dragon, Angelus breaks her pact with Came and reveals the dragons are revolting against mankind and reluctantly challenges him to a duel. After defeating Angelus, Came escapes the Sky Fortress to fall and fight off the rest of the dragons. A pitiful child shall defy the hands of the gods, and a door will close. Ending D. The wild dreams of a deluded child. In the Ocean Fortress, Seer attempts to talk Mana out of the cult of the Watchers, but is rejected. He is desperately ordering Golem to kill her, and her death unleashes the Grotesqueries and the Queen Beast upon the world. Leonard and Adriok die to the Grotesqueries, and the Queen Beast begins to devour all of time and space. Seer offers to sacrifice his pact power and freeze her in time itself. After flying Seer to the Queen Beast's belly, Came and Angelus are killed by the Grotesqueries, and the Imperial capital is frozen in a massive black crystal. At long last, the jumping hands of time will be halted by a weakling cast in eternal solitude. And ending E. The end of the Dragon Sphere. Instead of using Seer's power, Came and Angelus fight the Queen Beast directly. They unleash the time consumed by the Queen Beast, which drops all 3 into Tokyo, Japan, 2003. Defeated in a battle of songs, the Queen Beast crumbles to ashes before Came and Angelus are killed by a missile from a Japanese fighter pilot. Those ashes lead directly into NieR, known as the White Chlorination Syndrome. And then we start there. That is my quick story summary. If you are interested, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I'll see you in the next video. Let's get started with NieR. But for now, I am clocking out. Bye-bye!